Welcome to Charts Today Energy. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 27th of March, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the main exchange traded instruments, some currencies which will affect anyone looking at spreads, and then we'll look at European OTC energy coming off the Trayport Joule screen. So I'm running Joule here, Updata running on the Trayport Joule system. So we start with Brent Crude, and very key that we are below the cloud here. So we are just seeing this deterioration. Found resistance on the lagging line, back below the cloud, 4 downside targets, and really we're gunning for this 48. $20 level on crude. Now we're below the cloud. Normally we'd see the seasonality strong at this time of year. It's ended early this year. Really, crude struggled all the start of this year to do its normal strong quarter. So it's inherently weak at the moment, and we're seeing on WTI we're below the cloud as well. 5 downside targets, all pointing anywhere between 1 and 7% lower, but we've also got this downside target now of 37.37 activated. That's 21% lower. So crude oil looking very weak generally. So that's having a big effect on the whole energy mix generally. If we look at US Natgas, we see that we're actually holding on quite well here. We're bullish above the cloud in the short term. Medium term is still bearish, but the long term is still pretty bullish. We've got good upside targets here, 344 and 325 on the short term chart. So keep an eye out on those charts. Heating oil has also turned bearish. The long-term chart is just holding its bullish position, but the medium and short-term charts are looking bearish. And RBOB, which was looking better, certainly bullish in the medium and short long term, has turned a little bit bearish in the short term as well. So the whole energy mix really been dragged down. Coal prices bearish in the short term below the cloud and on the medium term chart, so we're seeing downside there. If I take a look at the daily chart, we see here we've got downside targets as much as 14%, 13-14%, that's sort of clustering, and then down as low as $47, $44, that's 25-30% downside on coal, so still looking pretty bad. Looking at the carbon market, emissions are looking pretty bearish as well, just falling away quite heavily now, bearish on all three time frames, long term, medium term and short term, and the short term target is now €4.20, so that's 9.3% downside from here. Looking at the exchange traded gas contracts, MBP front month traded on ICE, we see here a bearish chart. We had a target of 37.88, that was given back in March. We've touched nearly that level, just bounced a little bit, but at the moment we've got this medium term of 33 downside. So UK gas prices still looking pretty bearish. And looking at Dutch gas TTF, we see here we're also below the cloud. Bearish downside still of about 2% further to go. That target given quite some time ago. But the chart's just all looking pretty bad. Oil price not helping. Ironically, the US dollar is weakening quite significantly this morning, and we're seeing a medium-term bearish transition. And normally we see weak dollar means strong commodities, but that's not playing out. The inverse correlation that we'd expect to see is not really playing out in the crude oil price. So quite unusual that, but the dollar is starting to look weak, and that's then meaning euro strength. Looking at sterling also looking strong over the last week, and we're bullish there. Euro sterling rate is fairly flat, so no great changes there. And then if we take a look at OTC, if we start by looking at MBP front month, these prices are all coming off the Trayport Joule system. So we can see here just big changes in price, down anywhere between 1 and 2% on a lot of these commodities this morning. Front month MBP down, and that's in line with what we were looking at with the exchange traded. Winter, summer, we see here we're bearish here as well, very clearly below the cloud and just falling to find new lows. Day ahead in the prompt market, we are seeing down about 1.7%, and the week within day even worse, down 2.3%, just falling away very strongly there as well. Looking at TTF high cal, we see here we're bearish below the cloud on all 3 time frames, and we've got further downside there. And on the winter summer, we see here as well we're bearish below. and on day ahead on the prompt market also pretty bearish. So just generally we're seeing that bearishness creeping in. NCG bearish below the cloud here. Downside target of 1241, that's a 19% downside on that medium term chart, so still further to fall on the basis of that chart. And Gazpool, much the same picture as we might expect. Moving to power markets, German power not as heavily down as gas this morning. German power down 0.7%. And we're seeing here that we are just testing support that we saw last week, so that's quite key. And looking at German base load, the quarters, we see here as well that we are just bearish below the cloud, but no clear downside targets in the short term there. The cow contract has met its target, so that's quite interesting. This will give us a new downside thrust target, so keep an eye out on that, and we'll cover that tomorrow. Looking at months, the front month we see we're bearish there as well, and looking at French power, that's also bearish below the cloud, as you might expect. All of those run up in the price on nuclear power at the end of last year, really pulling way back down below as well. French baseload, we see on the quarters much the same picture, and on the months we're bearish below the cloud. Still got downside target here on the short term of some 11.5%. Dutch power also looking bearish now through the cloud on the daily. So like so many other power markets, it's starting to unwind. And then just last of all, a look at Italian power, starting to just turn bearish here on the daily as well. So not a good picture across the board for European energy markets. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.